Hey guys, welcome back to the Tiny Rig YouTube channel. I'm Daniel, founder of Tiny Rig, and today we're going to walk you guys through this Toyota Tacoma build. We're going to go through and we're going to show you guys kind of real time what it's like to set the truck up. You know, a lot of different setups take different amounts of time to set up. They also take time to close, right? Some set up very easily, but then are really miserable to close, right? I think if you've ever camped with the traditional rooftop tent that folds in half, gets zipped up, way easier to set it up than put it away, especially when it's rainy, snowy, and it's dirty. So one of the beautiful things about the Alu-Cab is just how quickly you can set stuff up. I've gotten into camp before at like 3 a.m. after Overland Expo West, and I jumped up in the bed in like 1 minute. So I'll show you guys, popping the door so that you have a place to stand. And we're on a hill right now, but that should still be fine. So pin, latch, pin, latch. And when you push up, you can grab the strap, you can pull this down. Alu-Cab recommends always doing this so that you don't strain the canvas up here in this area. But now, as far as climbing into bed, push the little portion of the bed up, which is that little area that allows you to pass through. Step inside the truck and you're up in bed, right? And right now, obviously this is a new build, so there's no bedding up here, but if you did have bedding, everything would already be here for you. There's no setup of a sleeping bag, there's no go get my pillows, and it'll actually stay that way even when you push the bed up like I just did. Now, if you're getting to camp and you are gonna hang out inside, obviously I could just sit down right now, right? Push the bed up out of the way, all of my bedding stays there, my pillows even stay there. It's super, super easy, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to start out with in this video is, what's the most basic reason why people go for campers like this? It's convenience, comfort, right? And kind of like that ease of setup and tear down. While we're inside, let's point out just a couple things that we did in this one for you guys. So right here, we'll start with water tank. So 13-gallon water tank, right? And this occupies very, very, very little space internally. Essentially, you've got the front piece of extrusion that creates the structure of the camper, and it's just resting on that. Obviously, there's stainless bracketry that holds it in place, but again, we're getting 13 gallons of water right there conveniently for you that's gravity fed to this spigot. There's also an expansion port here so that you guys can add a water pump or another outlet potentially. The fill is up here, and then the breather is right there. So above that breather line too, George, if you want to get that for them, that's that little rain gutter. And then attached to the water tank, we have the canvas bags. So two different options. You can order the water tank just alone, or you can do the water tank and canvas bags. I personally started without the canvas bags, and when Alu-Cab shipped us the first cabin that we did, it actually came with the canvas bags, and once we saw it, we really liked it. The other bags that you guys might see on the build sheets that go kind of in the electrical panel or the fireplace area, or even the back door where the molly plates go, we're not a big fan of those. And we're not a fan of them because usually the size of them is a little restrictive, and those are supposed to be attached using Velcro, and just over time those will kind of sag, especially the more weight you put in them. So as far as bags go, these are awesome. We use them as toiletry bags. My wife's, the dog's, mine. I've mentioned in other videos before, it ended up just being my wife's, the dog's, my wife's, and a tiny bit of my stuff. But up here I keep like extra charging cables, a headlamp, my tire deflator, things that I just want quick access to, convenient to have, and that's like the perfect place for stuff like this. So when we're getting ready at night or in the morning, right, all of our toothbrushes and the million other things that my wife brings, which she's really not that bad, but she's even got something called like Evian Spritz, which now I'm getting distracted, but I'm curious if your guys' wives bring, or even if you guys have like weird routines or whatever, you guys can mention that. But anyways, that stuff goes in here. George is laughing behind the camera because I'm just going full weird right now. Screen kits. So we've also got those in here. Initially, when we first opened, we were doing the standard Velcro all around, Velcroing that on, and now we're just riveting them. And we find that it works just as well, if not a little bit better. It allows, it's a little more forgiving in terms of opening and closing the doors, brushing them with something, like if you are lifting something out of the camper and whatnot. They stay in place really, really nicely. Other standard features that we have in the Canopy Camper, guys, we'll kind of fill this with B-roll so that you guys can see. And I want to touch on this, is those National Luna lights. So you have one on each door. You have one on the bottom of the sleeping platform. You have one at the top of the tent. So when you're laying down in bed, you've got a light up there. And then you've got one on your rear door so that when you're cooking, you guys will be able to see what's going on. So those are dimmable. You have a low, medium, high, and then they're also color changeable, red and white. I leave mine on red most of the time, and it's because it helps you maintain your night vision and helps keep those bugs away. You know, I've left the white one on before without knowing and get in bed and there's some bugs up there because I've left things open and didn't realize it. You know, on the subject of lighting, something I want to point out, those lights are awesome, awesome lights. We've installed them on 4Runner hatches. We use them in other builds, and we do so because just the functionality of them is amazing. Build quality is really good. Those are $65 each or so. So if you're doing some price shopping and comparing an Alu-Cab Canopy Camper to something else that's out there, that's something that's often overlooked. And so not only do you have those 5 of those lights, right? Let's call that $300. They're also all pre-wired. So if you look at the light up there, there's a little grommet, wires passing through, another grommet, wires passing through. And for you to bring your whatever other topper or camper you get to a shop and ask them to do that wiring, you know, I would say best case scenario, you're going to spend $500 to get things pretty dang clean. But I think honestly, you're probably closer to $1,000 to have it really, really good looking. So let's say 300 in lights, 1,000 in labor to get those kind of to the same point that they are now. So we're at what, $1,300 there. You can deduct from cost of the overall camper. Additionally, we have these zippered areas up here. Once we unzip these, you guys can see that there's a flexible reading light, and there's also 2 12-volt sockets and 2 USB ports. The other side of the camper actually has that as well, right? So again, from a value standpoint, this is often overlooked when you guys are comparing things to other camper systems that are out there. So recapping, right? Standard items that come with the camper. Obviously, you've got mattresses, tent canvas, and whatnot. But you're going to get those National Luna lights, the 5 of them. You're going to get the reading light. You're going to get the USB ports and the 12-volt sockets. All of it pre-wired and running down to where we typically do the electrical board. Now, if you go to our shop for an install, wiring those up to whatever battery system you go with is not included, but we'll be able to build you guys kind of an electrical package based on budget and needs where we can get those going for you guys. One other thing to point out is that they're pre-wired for solar. And so, you know, we've done solar on Vagabonds, we've done solar on GFCs, we've done solar on Super Pacifics, we've done it on a lot of different campers, right? Having the pre-wire up there where things are already sealed and the wires left in place saves you, again, a lot of time labor-wise. So even if you're not starting out with solar on your build, right, but you're looking at campers and kind of trying to think like long-term, what am I going to end up putting into this? Please factor all that into your decision. You know, a lot of campers that you might see, the wires just look super funky on the solar, right? And it's because people don't want to drill through composite or whatever it is. But this is done really, really nicely. And I think personally, there's a lot of value in that. It was one of the reasons why I ended up going with an Alu-Cab from the beginning. This particular build, we have a goose gear base plate. That's pretty much the foundation we always start with, whether you're going to add things down the road or if we're just going to do a battery free, we highly recommend that, especially in something with a composite bed. So we end up mounting your battery up front. Historically, initially we had put the battery over here. We've moved it up front. They're only 30 pounds, but it is a little bit better from like a weight distribution standpoint. But also we found that area I wanted access to more often, and we were occupying it with a bunch of space, whereas like nobody really wants to dig in the back of their bed. So this just kind of overall wins in terms of location. What we've got here, this customer went with Best Electrical. So we've got a 125 amp hour anti-gravity battery. If you've watched our videos or you follow along or been a customer of ours before, we were running Battleborn up until essentially this point. We've done some other batteries, Deep Cycle Systems, another one. They make some unique sizes, different form factors, and depending on the build, we might need to do that. In Canopy campers, though, this will be the standard moving forward. 125 amp hours versus 100 in the Battleborn. Pricing is really similar, But this BMS actually has a built-in, we'll call it like a shunt, and that's the voltage reading device. And so rather than having a Victron controller over here now on our electrical panels, we're able to get rid of that. Our electrical systems, we put a lot of thought behind them, and we've kept them very, very similar over the years. But one thing that we often get questions on is that Victron monitor, we'll call it losing calibration. And so essentially that monitor is measuring voltage and giving you a percentage based on an estimate or a calculation. And we get rid of that, and we get to simplify wiring, remove components that have the potential to fail. Out of the, call it 150 of those Victrons we installed, we maybe only had 2 or 3 issues. But again, it's something that we did have an issue with, so let's eliminate that. And this has that built in. So you don't have a physical display. We can still do a Victron if you'd like, so that you have that physical display. But this has a Bluetooth app, and you can monitor that. You'll also be able to see kind of the incoming amperage. So when you're running solar, or you've got the BCDC 1250 Red Arc device that's the DC to DC charging and solar controller going, you'll be able to see that those things are functioning. So that's strapped down with 2 stainless steel climbing hooks, stainless hardware, ratchet strap. We've got that wired up really nicely. And then we've also got a marine rated battery fuse on there. The really nice thing about this fuse, maybe not the coolest thing to point out for you guys, but I think it's pretty rad. This is the only way really to fuse something without having any unfused wire. And most people that will say like don't have a ton of experience with 12 volt electronics, you don't fuse for the device, you fuse for the wire. And so what that's allowing us to do is have 0 unfused wires. So if you've ever had a fuse blow in a vehicle, we actually had a customer come to the shop the other day and they just said, hey, can you make me a quick wire, because the wire between the power source and the fuse burned up. That's not going to happen. The fuse is going to go first. So really cool, clean, safe, thoughtful, practical solution for fusing in here. As far as the inside goes, that's really about it. We do have the Dickinson fireplace, which I know if you guys have watched our channel, you've seen before. Quickly on it, right? Super efficient. So you get that 11-pound propane tank on the Expedition Essentials mount on the back. But what that's going to do is it's going to run, multiple trips. And I've got George behind the camera. You can attest, George, like a lot of trips that you do where you go, you camp, you maybe forget, or you're lazy and you don't want to fill up, and you go out the next weekend and you still got plenty of propane in there. So very, very, very efficient. Definitely enough to last you, 5 or 6 days, even running it all night. Extremely safe, right? So I think a lot of people have ran buddy heaters before, and those are not safe. They work, right? And if you vent things and you're responsible with it, great. But this is one more of those things that you get installed, really cool little flame flicker, and you don't have to worry about any safety. It's super efficient. It's nice and quiet, good ambiance, and honestly, it kind of makes the camper. So screen kits all the way around, rear door screen kit there. We also have the 270 awning, obviously. And on this particular vehicle, we did do a snorkel install. The customer did their own suspension on this vehicle. It's got some Deaver Stage 3s. It looked like it had some Sumo springs under there, which is kind of like a bump stop airbag hybrid. And then it's got some King shocks and sliders. And this guy's ready to go. Still stock tire size, which again, it's the practical solution. It's not necessarily the coolest. But overall, this build's going to be able to take him pretty much anywhere. It's going to be super comfortable. And we can add that goose gear over time if he decides he wants to do that. And any other Alu-Cab accessories we can add over time. So if you guys have questions, please reach out. Again, I told you guys in the last video, if you watched that one, I sincerely think that this is the best camper option for mid-size vehicles. In terms of if you're looking for something that's very high quality, feature rich, and going to keep you very comfortable, there's really, in my opinion, nothing else that compares to it. So thank you guys for watching. Stop by the shop, check one out in person, get your hands on it, feel the quality, see the quality, and check out some of the work we do. Thanks, guys.